Welcome back to another episode of Hobby Time in the Murder Basement, where today I get to sit down and talk with Scott, the Miniature Maniac. He wants me to relay the message to all of you that you should be painting more minis. Stick around.
Scott, the Miniature Maniac,
That's
the one,
me.
the only. Thank you so much for joining me in the Murder Basement. I really appreciate your time and your efforts and everything you've given to the mini painting community and the YouTube community. It has been a lot of fun watching your rise and your weekly content updates. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm very happy to be here, and I mean, making videos and paint miniatures is all for pleasure. So I'm happy to do all this stuff.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear it. I know that like I can be a little tenacious. I'm just like, I just got to stay on it, and until I basically go until like literally you have to grab me by my shoulders and be like, all right, dude, just stop. I'd be like, okay, no worries. It's got a clear boundary. So I appreciate you putting up with my shit.
No problem.
Again, I have the same issue with John. With John, the first thing that I ran into is that I don't know how to introduce you to an audience that already knows you. And as I was saying, as we were kind of warming up, you are in our lives every single week. And yet I feel like I've actually hardly know the Scott, the Miniature Maniac. So I think where I would like to start in this conversation, and it's not where everybody's going to start, is I started watching you. I think you had just released the How to Stop Being a Pleb video, which
Nice.
fucking made me laugh really hard. I was like, oh my God, what is this? And it was like hard and fast information to, just kind of get you over that bump, that first weird little hurdle of miniature painting. And I realized, I was like, all right, I dig Scott. This is good. Like all this content, like heavy metal Marines and things like that. Well, I'm sure that they're great for clicks. I was like, Scott's got like a lot of insight for new miniature painters, because I've actually only been doing this for like 2 years. And I realized that like weekly I would have to keep on coming back to the watering hole, because like I instantly like caught up with all your material and just started following it. So, and it wasn't long after that you actually decided to quit your job and go full-time YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me right there is like a very scary proposition, but also like really inspiring. So like you were doing Twitch in the mornings, a video a week, and working a full-time job. Like, how did you not pull your hair out?
Well, to make it sound less exciting than it was, I wasn't doing a video a week and the daily stream at the same time. There's a video somewhere on my channel where I say I have to stop streaming to focus on YouTube, which is the thing that at the time I really cared about more. But in spite of that, doing a weekly video while working full time was still really difficult. And I don't know, it just kind of came down to negotiating with my wife and sleeping the minimum amount of time that I could sleep without without dying, and then working every other time. So basically, get up at 5, work for 2 hours, go to work, come back. On like Mondays and Wednesdays, or it was 2 days in the week, I could work in the evening on YouTube without, with my wife expecting that. And then the other days I couldn't. So it's just basically, there was this phrase that a YouTuber used once upon a time, and it was basically sacrificing yourself to the altar that is YouTube. So every waking moment, like I have friends in Wisconsin that I grew up with, and I disappeared from them. And yeah, so I just dedicated myself fully to it, which is not a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing for a short period of time, but it's not sustainable. But yeah, that's what I had to do.
So how long were you doing weekly videos before you decided to make the jump? Like, because I think you were doing like every other week or when it made sense there for a while. But like the weekly push, that's like, I don't think anybody understands the effort that goes into it. And I talked with Vince Venturella and I was like, I decided to make hobby videos when I first started, and because Miniac was doing it, like it looks easy, it's good. You just get up there, you say some fucked up shit, and you paint some minis. It's all good. And Vince was like, Scott is brilliant at editing, and like and he took it so much more seriously than, like I was like kind of joking about it. I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm like totally not minimizing it, but like there is an insane amount of effort that has to go into every video, even the stupid ones, even just I'm just talking to the mic ones. There's a lot of effort that goes into them.
Yeah, yeah. At a certain point, you kind of get used to the process of making a video. So the ones where you're doing unscripted stuff is pretty simple in comparison. But I'm sorry, what was the question? I missed it
Just
in the beginning.
there really isn't one. I just want to hear like making like what was like making the weekly thing that pushed you actually do that, because that's fucking intense.
Yeah, yeah. I think the question was how long did it take until I was full time, but I could talk about all those things.
Sure.
I think it was 10 or 11 months. I remember because I read this book from a YouTuber that I like called I Like to Make Stuff. And he wrote a book where he was like, okay, I'm gonna give myself, I forget if it was like a year or 9 months, but I'm gonna make a video a week for 9 months. And if I don't hit this monetary goal in 9 months, I'm gonna quit YouTube forever. And I was like, whoa. Like there's, actual risk and reward there. So I did the same thing. I did a 9 month stretch where I was making videos every single week. And at month 9, I was like, this is a reality. And so I just kept doing it. And then probably in month 10 or 11, I quit my job after some, analyzing the finances to see if we could actually do it. And then it was reality.
Sure.
So yeah, a little over 3/4 of a year.
That's pretty, I mean, that's a really amazing like timeline for actually making something work. Most small businesses, it's like a 5-year plan before you're even at some place where it actually makes sense. And the fact that YouTube could give you that is pretty amazing. Did you have a Patreon going at the exact same time?
Yeah, I think I did. So at that time, when I started doing that weekly content, I think I had been I've been making videos for maybe around 2 years on and off. In the beginning, it was weekly, and then after 6 months, I stopped and was kind of just doing it sporadically, and then I was doing it more regularly again. So probably like 2 years of that kind of weird schedule, and
Sure.
then I gave it the 1 week push. But yeah, so there was some build up to that point.
Sure. The interesting thing about like YouTube, and I don't know, like I don't actually know what the monetization schedule kind of breaks down to, but it seems like you don't just live off of YouTube. Like you actually have to start doing things outside of there, the Patreons, having cool merch like this little badass right here, which
Nice.
we all love and enjoy, the Duchess, and I have cutting mats with your name on it, and
Awesome.
it's just like when you find someone that you want to support, especially coming from like the DIY band zone, like it just makes sense to like, dude, he's doing it, and like I don't know anybody else who's like coming at it as holistically, like, and it felt closer to a band than a YouTube watching it grow.
I appreciate hearing that. It's funny that you relate it to a band. And there's one area that YouTubers and people in a band are not similar, and that's whenever you go to a show, the guys in the band are never wearing their own merch. It's always someone else's merch. But a
Right.
YouTuber always wears their own fucking merch. And it's definitely a pill that's been hard to swallow. It's kind of like self-advertising in your own content. So yeah, I try to keep that on the DL a little bit. Maybe wear a tabletop minion shirt or a Luke Towan shirt or something like that in my videos.
It is really funny, and I don't know, like whenever you saw the band wearing their own T-shirt, you either wondered if they like ran out of laundry or something, and they're like dipping into the merch fund. You're like, ugh, I reek. I need a new shirt. So after like going full time, I mean that again, like I don't know how to stress how like bold of a move that is. I'm self-employed. This is a thing that like I made the jump to being self-employed because literally I didn't have any other choice. Like it was either go self-employed or like become my worst enemy in my job. I was like, you either do this or you get fired. This self-loathing spiral keeps on going.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was like super dumb and like 26 years old, just like, no, I'm just gonna do this. This is all good, no worries. And now like being 36, I look back at these decisions and just like, what the hell was I thinking? Have you had many of those what the hell are you thinking moments?
No, I fortunately haven't. I think it's because my wife she's very risk averse. So the approach that we took to doing the full-time thing, which was definitely a lot better than if I was on my own, I probably would have done something dumb. But we took a look at our previous 6 months of finances and averaged out all of our expenses, that we had an average monthly expenses that I knew needed to be covered. And then we compared it to how much I was earning then as a software engineer, and also what health insurance would cost. And so I had this number that I had to hit before I could quit, so that we knew everything that our lifestyle that we had then, which was like maybe like eating out once a week, was supported and all that kind of stuff. So it was pretty seamless. And so, it's not like you go from making no money to making a ton of money when I decided to go full time, right?
Right.
So like all that time where I'm working still as a normal employee, I'm making money as well. And so I was saving it. So I had a little bit of a cushion too, in case I needed it.
Yeah.
So it was incredibly smooth. That I don't know. I was very lucky in that regard. So I've had no complaints about that transition. I mean, I hated being a software engineer, so that's pretty great.
And have you ever like looked at the whatever your editing software is and been like, motherfucker, I'm back at the exact same shit, like why am I doing this? Because like every once in a while you say some things and like trapped under plastic that you're like, I wish I could just do what I want. And when I heard that, I was like, I want to know what you want. Like I want to know what you want to do, because like I actually like the weekly content's great, but yeah. I mean, like it feels so throwaway so many times, where you're like, I'm just doing this thing because I know I have to do this. I have to feed this machine. And I loved like your little short films. I thought that shit was really fun. And I could tell that you were like flexing your creative muscle and you're like, yeah, I'm doing this. So like, it seems like there's a future beyond just YouTube and weekly releases, although I'm sure YouTube will always probably be a big part of your life.
Yeah, I love YouTube. I love YouTube is my main source of entertainment. I don't watch Netflix. Aside from watching movies, I love movies. Despite all the references I miss in Trapped Under Plastic, I do watch quite a few movies. But yeah, so I love YouTube, the platform and everything. So I'll always make videos probably on YouTube unless something terrible happens.
Sure.
But yeah, you mentioned doing what I want to do. And so I pulled up this list of 40 video ideas that I just kind of keep, that are ideas that are too hard to do in a weekly time frame. And a lot of these are videos that I would make if I didn't have a weekly schedule. And so there's other things too, like accounting, shipping merch, editing the podcast, which is literally the same thing every single time. Those are all things that I would rather not do. But very fortunate for me, my wife is now working with me, and actually she edits the podcast and she ships the merch and she does the accounting. So I get to do video making and painting miniatures for the most part. So I'm pretty fortunate in that as well.
That's awesome, man. I always appreciate seeing when she's on screen. There's just something about it that like I love the holistic, small family American dream bullshit because like you rarely see it these days. And the fact that you aren't, it doesn't seem like your ego is getting in the way of including her as part of it, and that's really touching because I again, coming from the band thing, you wouldn't see any singer of the band's girlfriend hanging out on stage, like that's not happening. It's like, do not go near my shit. And so to see you do that is really cool because I look at so much of this community as like in comparison from the other communities that have been in, and for the most part, miniature painting, specifically the art side of it is really supportive and super inclusive, and I love that. I love the fact that I don't ever feel like I have to like hide the nerd kink sort of aspects of our lives, and we can be like holistic with each other about it, which is pretty cool. So you were going to go into some of those videos. Let's hear video ideas. Let's hash this out.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. So there's all kinds of funny things. I like funny ideas, and so a funny idea that I had was, you know those Tootsie Pop commercials where I'd say how many licks to get to center of Tootsie Pop. Yeah. And I was like, what if you did the reverse, where you basically were like what does 500 layers of paint look like on a miniature? And so I wanted to see, I'd do that fun experiment. More of a realistic video idea though is I love horror movies, and I would love to take a scene from a horror movie, and I have one in mind, and just recreate that in miniature form. And like look at the scene, look at all the things on the shelves and on the walls, and just recreate the whole thing from the ground up, the character and the setting they're in. That'd be a fun way to combine interests.
I'm actually surprised that you haven't done that one yet, because like it seems like such a slam dunk idea. Like, yeah, like I keep on wanting to do like comic book shots, like Frank Miller things, like super high contrast, like black, white, and where it looks like totally 2D, but then you turn it one way and it looks stupid because it's meant to be looked at it from a certain angle.
Yeah, I would love to do it. Honestly, I could probably fit it into a week or a 2 week. So if I made like a video that was much easier to do, and maybe like 2 days, and then worked on that one the rest of the days, that would be easy. But I'm a pretty like lazy, apathetic person, so having to like kind of schedule that and suss that out it's kind of like a barrier to do it. So that's why I haven't done it yet.
I don't know if I would call you lazy and or apathetic.
I'm definitely apathetic. Definitely.
Definitely apathetic. Well, like the whole idea of like doing something like this, like I don't think anybody understands like how much mental energy it takes to process what you're doing for your business, and like just the like stupid shit like gets in the way. People like me emailing you all the time, like watching your Facebook group go like completely on fire, whatever you're dealing with on your Patreon, like you are in it a lot, like, and I think that is an interesting thing. And like I said, like it's weird because you aren't as forward facing as a lot of other content creators are. And is that a conscious decision that like you can't interact with every fire that comes your way, or like did you learn early on? Because it seems really smart.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one thing that I didn't realize about including a Discord as a Patreon reward was how not scalable it was. So my Discord has about 800 people in it, and it's its own small, like almost country. And so I have mods that help me run it, but there are occasional, pissing fights between people, like saying like he shed, she shed, and I have to deal with that. But also, you made an interesting comment earlier about how working in Premiere Pro can seem like programming. There's a bot that I actually wrote the code for that runs in my Discord server, and that stuff breaks, and I have to fix that all the time. And basically, as a content creator, any kind of reward or agreement that you make that involves spending your own time is never scalable, because as you grow in size, your time eventually shrivels up and dies, which means that you can't spend it doing a thing that got you popular in the first place. And so when John wanted to open up a Facebook group for the podcast, I told him, like, the time you spend cultivating this community is going to conflict with a future audience that you might want to cultivate. And so he was aware of that. But yeah, basically, if I committed to being more involved in Facebook groups and stuff like that, beyond just like my comment section in my YouTube videos and also my Discord, I would just have less time to make videos and paint miniatures. So it's like I gotta draw a line somewhere, so I draw it there.
Sure. I actually think that that's really smart because, you know, it would be nice to get more of that, but unless if you literally had, like 5 assistants, like the Jazza size, group, working around him. Like he just did a video saying that he might need to take a mental break soon from YouTube.
Yeah.
And I was like,
video.
dude, that like hit hard, because he started talking about stuff that, I don't want to get famous on YouTube. I don't actually care. I want to meet people who've inspired me. I want to give different aspects of those people to your fans and, help cultivate a more 3-dimensional hobby. Because when you just say, I paint miniatures for fun, like people just like instantly, like it turns off. It's a switch. They're like, I don't care about what you're doing from here. But when you say I'm talking with artists about their process, like suddenly even like the most pretentious people start to be like really invested in those ideas. And so when you see someone like Jazza get up there, and like his videos always seem so like positive and happy, and he's getting like closer and closer to a more miniature painting thing, which I think is really exciting. He's like, I'm just flirting with this thing over here. And then to him say, I have this vlog channel that has 400,000 subscribers, and the people that I love and watch can hardly get 1,000 people to watch their videos, and how much that hurts them. That was like eye-opening. You guys actually enjoy other people and the small people who don't ever get seen. And that's another like band thing. You see that happen all the time. The local boys that don't ever make it, but their 15 friends love them to death, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. That was super humbling to hear him say that he felt like he didn't deserve the 400,000 subscribers his vlog channel had. And there is definitely that feeling where if you put out a video that you punted on, and it's like, I'm still gonna get 30,000 views, and there are people that are in the mud scrapping to get 1,000 views. So that's definitely a relatable feeling.
Yeah, it was eye-opening. And like, I know you and Brent have worked together. Have you peeped into his the YouTube creator brain trust at all?
Are you referring to a Discord server where there's a bunch of YouTubers in it?
Yeah.
So I know there's a few of them, but I was in a Discord server with Trent from Miscast Terrain, or just Miscast now, Brent and ML from Age of Squidmar, and Jeremy from Black Magic Craft. So about like 10 people or so. And I recently left it, not because anyone upset me or anything, but because I've recently been reevaluating the reason that I make content, and being in that server and seeing people's success while I was, I think YouTube goes in cycles, right? So sometimes you make a video and it does really well, and then your next 5 releases do really well, and then you dip back down into where you should be, and that dip always kind of sucks, right? And so you stay there for like, I don't know, stay there for like 4 months, stay there for 1 month, stay there for an entire year, until you hit another thing, and then it happens all over again.
Yeah.
And so basically seeing people's rampant success kind of made me always feel down about myself. So I left the server just because I was avoiding that feeling. I'm reassessing why I make content. It's not for views, it's not for clicks. It's just because I love to make videos about miniature painting. And then once I mature myself more, then I'll re-enter that server probably again. But yeah, it's been a whole process. I've had to like read books about like passion and how to manage passion. That's a whole story if you want to go into that.
Let's do it, man. This is what I am here for. I wanna hear the rise and fall of Scott the Miniature Maniac, and then the
Yeah.
rise again.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's fair to say that my YouTube channel is the largest miniature painting YouTube channel. There are channels like Luke Towen and BMC who are adjacent in content, but then they have more than me, but don't focus on miniature painting.
Sure.
So that's awesome. But with that comes this responsibility that I put on myself, that I'm the one that's supposed to be doing the best. And so when I see people like Emil and people like Brent and people like Miniature Minis like crushing it, and they have like half of the audience that I do, or even earlier on, less than half the audience that I had, it's like, well, what am I doing wrong? I need to step up my game and all these things. And then if you try hard and it still doesn't work out, it can feel even more demoralizing.
Sure.
So I'm not saying this to say that they didn't deserve any of the stuff that they got.
Of course.
It's kind of just this burden that I put on myself that I need to always be number one, and that's just not the case. YouTube ebbs and flows all the time, and so that was the beginning of it when I realized that, okay, I'm not going to be number one forever. It was a thing, and I started to realize, okay, I'm thinking about this the wrong way entirely. I made videos in the beginning because I love making videos. And I love miniature painting. I never did it for subscribers, for views, for recognition. But then it eventually became about that. It became about getting the highest subscribed channel. Like I had a goal, like a 3-year goal of getting like 500,000 subs or something like that. And those were important milestones for me. But then
Sure.
I kind of realized that, external recognition, validation from peers, all of these things that I can't really control, I was putting my happiness and my joy in, and so that was really dangerous. So the goals that I have now come from within and are controllable on my end, so that I can sustain my happiness, or at least they will be in the near future. So I'm excited about that.
Good. I mean, and you don't ever strike me as the type of person who, suffers fools, or is like somebody who is going to like sell their own morals and their own like vision to whatever is that like the easy the easy choice, and like the closest was like watching you do the heavy metal Marines, and every time you're like I hate doing this, I was like, oh, it's like do you remember like early Chappelle show, like second season, and he was just like, this racism is killing me? It was like you were saying the exact same thing. This edge highlighting is killing me, but like it is what was sustaining your channel at the same time. And you could see that, like, I don't know. I mean, I just coming from the creative side of things, like I think that there was probably a lot more honesty in your scripts than maybe you were like, initially putting on the table. Like I think you're subconsciously being like, I fucking hate this.
Yeah, it's interesting to bring up Chappelle, because he had this whole period where he kind of disappeared for a long time, because he like walked off a set in a show that he realized like this, I hated doing what I was doing, and then came back. I forget how many years later.
I think it was like 12. It was a long
12
time.
years. Wow.
Yeah, it was like 12.
Damn. Okay. Hopefully I won't disappear for 12 years at a time.
And please don't.
But yeah, I mean, it's funny you mentioned that, because I'm doing an Heavy Metal Marine episode right now for the Indominus release.
Son of a bitch.
But there's an end in sight. I have this weird thing about me where when I commit to something, I like to see it through, which sounds really noble and honorable. But the reality is that sometimes it takes me like a year or 3 years or 7 years to accomplish something that I committed to. So yeah, I committed to 10 Heavy Metal Marine videos 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago at this point, and I intend to do all 10. And so this is my 9th one, and then I know the 10th one. So I'll be done with it at that point, and I won't not paint Space Marines ever again, but I'm never fucking painted them like Heavy Metal does ever again after that 10th one.
Like I have to give up props where props are due, because like I can't do that shit. And it's not that I can't like sit down and actually do the work. I like getting weird and tedious with models, but that heavy metal style is not my style. It is not what I like. And so it was interesting, last week or 2 weeks ago on Trapped Under Plastic, you guys were doing the talk about what is your style and how you guys handle that. And I am finding myself, the more and more I paint minis, like, I'm not an army painter. I fucking hate painting armies. I hate painting in batch. I hate doing all that stuff. I like doing big monsters. I like doing cool, like, busts and, display things. And when I come to, like, try to make somebody else's style work for me, like, while it's an interesting thing, like, I will practice those techniques to do an entire marine, which it's this big. It's, an inch and a quarter. Like, it's just so much time to put on, and you're like, and I'm done with this and I'm moving on, and you aren't going to pick it up. You aren't going to play with it. You aren't necessarily proud of it either. It's not one of those things. And I think COVID has also, like, cemented that, like, my mental health needs to be thought of differently when it comes to the hobby, because, when I started doing YouTube, it was at the beginning of COVID. And I was like, I'm going to do a video a week because I have all this time. And I realized I wasn't painting. I was, like, really upset about the time that was going into it. And like, there's that weird, like, self-awareness when you have to go, yes, this is what I want to do, or no, like, never again. And is there going to be any videos that you'll run into where you'll just never do it again? Like, you've now painted 24-hour long video or 36-hour long videos, which is insane, absolutely insane. 100% airbrush videos. I'm trying to think of some of the ones that I'm just like, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life, Scott? Why?
Oh, yeah. Are you actually asking me, are there videos that I will never do again?
Yeah.
I don't want to say I'm not gonna do another, like, long painting marathon again, because I know I can do more than 38 hours, but I just stopped. I just stopped because I had to make that video for, like, the next Friday, and it was, like, Wednesday, so I needed a day to sleep and then Thursday to make the video at the very least. Yeah. I'm kind of scrolling through my feed right now to see, okay, I used to do, well, not used to, I'm still doing them. Well, I used to do a kind of sponsored video where the brand would give me the model to paint, and then I'd paint it on the video. And that was a great deal, because the model that was being painted was the one in the thumbnail, and that would drive the most traffic to their business. But unless I like the model, I'm never going to do that again, because I was doing, like, 3 of those a month, and I do 4 videos a month, and it was just like, I don't care about any of these stupid models that I'm painting right now. So yeah, I mean, if you're good about it and you can do maybe, like, limited, like, once a month, then that's okay. But I feel like for me, I was painting everything I was painting I hated. So yeah, I would avoid doing that.
Do you find that sometimes you get that weird, I need to pick up every last dollar that's on the table, because if I don't, like, I'm not doing this right? Do you run into that ever?
And not so much about money, but about like, quality. Yeah. So there'll be times where I'll have an idea for something. For instance, me and John shot an episode of a show that I called Kill Your Friends, which is this gaming series on my channel. And we shot the first episode where we played Guild Ball. And I think at this point we shot it a year ago. And I haven't edited it yet because I'm so terrified of what the outcome is going to be. I want it to look and feel like the show Tabletop, which is a show done by Geek and Sundry on YouTube. It's really high quality. And so I have this image in my head, and I've shot my content, and I have no idea how I'm going to get from what I shot to what they produce. And I'm just like spinning my wheels in mud right now. So yeah, I oftentimes put up barriers due to impossible levels of quality to reach, and then just never end up doing it.
Sure. I mean, like, the whole Let's Play things, they're so weird, and, like, the battle report things, which, I don't know, there's something about that name, battle report, that, like, I don't know, it doesn't work for me for some reason, because it's a bunch of people, like, rolling dice on a table. Like should have a much more fun name to me, and I don't know why. But like, what was her name? She did all the War Machines Hordes videos, and like War Game Girl or
Wargamer Girl.
yeah, War Gamer Girl. She had the best, like, you could actually follow a game of War Machine, of which I have never watched another thing and been like, oh, I actually understand how this game is played. Like every time I watch like Guerrilla Miniatures, like I can't follow the games. Like there's just like this thing and there's this noise of him rolling his dice on the thing. Like it seems like battle reports, while are could be really good like generations for your YouTube, like I don't know, they feel like really weird to me. Like maybe as weird as long form conversations with people like this. Like I'm sure that there's people who look at what I'm doing right here and be like, I will never watch some people talk for an hour and a half.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I don't really like watching battle report videos, but mostly it's because typically battle reports are for those that just want to see how the game is played or how a specific race is played, and it's not for any kind of personality or something like that. So the way that tabletop does their stuff is really interesting because, well, the thing I value about board games and miniature war games is the friendships that you can have through them.
Sure.
And so all the guests on that show, Kill Your Friends, would be friends that I've made that play miniature war games that we can kind of shit talk and have fun. And
Sure.
mostly it's just about just having fun with the process, not so much about the outcome or the strategies being used, although that will definitely play a role in it. So yeah, that's kind of the approach I wanted to take, where it's more about the friends playing than it was about something else like the game or the armies.
Sure. Oh, I mean, and that was like a really great part about tabletop. I think I probably watched the first 2 seasons of that. I thought that was really clever. Will Wheaton and cast, like the revolving chairs, that was like really addictive. And I bought a bunch of board games because of that. Things I was like,
Yeah,
this
same.
is actually like Suro is still one of those games that we break out when like people are like, you play board games? I'm like, just play this one. It's fucking easy. Chill the fuck out. And everybody, like my dad, even, he was like, I don't know, I don't want to play this game. And then he was like backseat driving my mom. And then like at the end, like he was like, all right, I want to play. And like, we just started back over again. And like, it was weird things. Like I never thought I'd ever get my dad to play a board game. And that's because of Geek and Sundry's tabletop, which, like they gave that to me. And that's something that, I don't know how to thank them for that. It's weird that relationship there. So
Yeah. Suro, Dixit, Smash Up, all those games from early seasons of tabletop I bought because of that show, and my parents love playing. So yeah, it's great.
it's really interesting. So you play tabletop war games, but you're not a huge army guy. You have had armies. What is your type of game? What is the size of game that you like to play? Because I'm finding the older I get, the smaller that size gets.
Yeah. I mean, I love having big armies. I can't finish an army to save my life. So then, yeah, what I tend to lean toward, like you were kind of alluding to, is smaller size forces. So there are so many skirmish games out right now, so a lot of them could work for me. But the one that I like the most is Guild Ball. But I haven't really given a fair chance to all the skirmish games out there. But I guess what I look for in a game is that classic phrase is simple to understand, difficult to master, or something like that.
Sure.
So like the ideas in Guild Ball are pretty simple. It's you score goals and get points, and like there are basic actions that your people can do. But like the everything in between that is so incredibly complicated. And so there's a lot of learning you can do and a lot of fun that can be had, and all the while painting a small little soccer team. So yeah, I like that one a lot, and I've painted my whole Guild Ball squad. But I mean, I also love big armies, and I will never stop pretending that I can actually paint an entire army.
It's an unfortunate addiction. Like
Yeah.
once you start thinking about it, you're like, yeah, no, I can do this. But like I've got like 2 armies in Conquest Last Argument of Kings that are sitting like half built and like quarter painted, and like 5 Warhammer armies that are just like, oh yeah, no, I bought this off of eBay and it was a good deal. No, I had to get it.
Yeah.
It's pretty messed up.
Yeah, I don't know if you hung out in games workshops at all when you were young, but there were 3 conversations you had. You were basically talking about what you were painting, what games you were playing or had played recently, or what new army you were going to start. And that was pretty much it. And so it's like it was this vicious cycle of kind of like I just bought so many armies that I never painted, then just sold for less than I bought them for. It was pretty awful, but yeah.
But fun was had. I mean,
Oh,
like
heck yeah.
I will say that like out of all the money that I've thrown away, like this is like my favorite because like like there's just something about like I spent all this time like I got Necrons. That was my first Warhammer army. I'm like this is the dumbest like Terminator army ever. I love this shit. This is gonna be great. And then like I realized how bad they were in 8th edition, and so I never played with them. And now that 9th edition is happening, everybody's like all excited about the Necrons. I'm like, I picked the right horse. I got this, and now I'm all excited again because like that army, it was actually almost completely done. Like I had a couple like vehicles left that I was just like needing to actually do the airbrush work on, and like my ideas were bigger than what my skill were.
Yeah,
So
I can relate to that on the video
yeah.
front, 100%.
So I want to shift gears just a little bit, and I want to talk about the Duchess
Okay.
because that was. Hold on, I gotta let my cat out. He's really upset that I'm not paying attention to him. I'll be right back.
Okay.
So the Duchess, you talked about the video about making it. You always seemed a little apprehensive to promote your creation. Like you're like, I'm really sorry I'm talking about the Duchess again. And I was like totally there for everything from like the beginning steps, from like the artist sketches to like the early 3D models. Like when you started showing that stuff off, I was like, okay, this is the thing that like, not saying that I wasn't watching your videos, but I was, they're just on. There were things that were in the background, and I was like super invested to the Duchess. That was for me. I was like, Scott's doing it again. He's reinventing himself. Like, so what? I've got several questions there. What has that process given you? And what are your future plans? Are you going to do more vampire models? Are you going to do a different thing? Because like I talked to the Creature Caster guys, and they seem very excited to continue working with you on these things, however they can, because you are. They love working with you, and they love the fact that they can put their name out there in a different way, and reach other people with giant demon tits and things like that.
Yeah, Creature Crasher's great. Pete is an awesome person. I love talking to him, and a few other guys are awesome. They're always great to deal with. So I guess what that process gave me was just, for lack of a better word, courage and clarity. So it's just like this impossible concept of like making your own miniature and selling it. It seems ridiculous, but it really isn't that complicated when you break it down into 4 steps, or however many steps there is. It's like, you get concept, you get a 3D model, you find the caster, you find the boxing, like the packaging for it, and it's done. Maybe it takes you a while because it's expensive, but you just gotta go slow.
Sure.
It wasn't very complicated. So as soon as I did it one time, self-funded, I didn't use Kickstarter or anything. I just paid for it all up front. I was like, okay, this is I could do this a lot more, and I could have a whole range of miniatures, each with maybe maybe not each one, but with a lot of them with a digital course associated with it, and then that could be like its own revenue stream, and that could be sustainable in and of itself. So for future models, I've been working on a wood elf range for a very long time. I don't know how long, maybe not over a year, maybe something like 10 months at this point. But I have 3 concepts done for wood elves, and I do want to do more vampires at some point. I got to have a Duke, right? If you have a Duchess. But yeah, 3 wood elves right now that I'm comparing different casting companies. So Creature Caster's one of them. There's another one that I'm working with right now, and whoever makes the best cast and has the best price and is easiest to work with is the one I'm going to go with.
Sure.
But yeah, so I mean, I'm excited about it. It's basically you get to make the things that you want to exist, right? So I love vampires, but I'm super picky about them, and just none of the ones out there were just doing it for me at the scale that I wanted. So I got to make the one that I wanted, and it's the same with
Sure.
wood elves. So, yeah, I'm hyped about it. It's great. Everyone should do it because then we just see more awesome models for people's creativity.
Well, like the Patreon aspect, and I'm sure that you have paid attention. I mean, like Titan Forge has reached out to you. You've done a couple videos with them and Artisan Guild and all that. Like the amount of new minis on the market right now that don't even actually have a physical representation, you have to make it, is staggering. It is a staggering amount of people doing it. Like I had no idea. Like it's a whole, you could spend probably $500 a month and still not even hit all of them. Like there is so many of them right now on Patreon.
Yeah, I get weekly emails from new ones all the time. People wanting to advertise it on a sponsored podcast episode or on my YouTube channel. It's amazing. There are so many of them.
I that like I get really inspired by it and I back them all for like a month or two and then I'm just like I hate 3D printing. I have a lot of things that I hate, like, and the older I get I'm like I just want somebody to make good models for me. Like I don't want to do this myself. Like YouTube is a hobby on its own, or in your life of a full-time career. Miniature painting is a hobby, playing the games is a hobby. And then like when you get into 3D printing, it's a whole nother thing, man. It's like it is messy and time consuming and it never turns out exactly the way you want. But like, and then you see people online doing the exact same thing as you and it turns out perfect and it's just like really disheartening. You're like, really? Really? I spent like 10 hours on this and I hate this.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that's definitely an emotion that a lot of miniature painters feel when they see a model that someone's painted that they own, the whole wanting to snap their brushes kind of thing. Like John's that way with Mikhail Pisarski. Whenever Michael paints something, John's like, I'm never going to paint that model because I will never paint it as good as Mikhail. And I don't know why, but maybe it's because I just feel like, okay, I don't know about you, but like whenever I'm walking through a store like IKEA and I'm looking at furniture, I'm like, I can make that. Like I don't need to buy this shit from IKEA, right?
Right.
So it's the same thing with minis. Like whenever I see a mini, it's like, oh, I could paint that. Maybe not now, maybe in like 2 years, but at some point I can do that. I don't, so I always get some kind of encouragement from really good painted things as opposed to wanting to snap my brushes in half. And maybe people are just joking when they say that too. So that's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of what's that term? Like, I can't remember. Total brain fart. But when you say something there's a lot of hyperbole involved in like the creative aspect of things. And I find myself like I don't get actually discouraged at all by seeing cool art. I am like the exact opposite. I'm like, oh, thank God somebody's doing something cool. Like somebody's doing something different. Like seeing you paint the Duchess for your first one, like I didn't watch the videos. There's just something about a 68 video long course that like while I wanted to, I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like I was like, I will watch 3 of them and I will never finish it because I like when I see a model like the Duchess, the only thing that I did differently is you made a joke about I wanted to see a Duchess that wasn't painted like a zombie girl, you know, like I wanted to see
Yes.
like a regular ass Duchess, and that's what I'm doing. Like she is blonde haired, fair skinned, but like I went off of like the concept art because I love the red like taffeta thing, and like I have my Google history is now really insane because I've looked at so many taffeta dresses to figure out how silk lays. You know, I'm like, how does light reflect on this? Like,
Yes.
and it's the first time I've ever done something like that, and so that's like really exciting that your model like inspired me to like look at the real world a little differently than I would, and it looked like that's something that maybe you painting the Duchess it gave to you, because like I have seen you paint well. I have never seen you paint to that level. And
Yes.
that, I mean, that's really cool to see.
Yeah, that was one of the more complicated miniatures that I'd ever painted. I mean, it kind of came from this. I like miniature painting a lot, and like kind of like a milestone that you hit as a professional miniature painter, which I don't consider myself, but other people certainly are.
Sure.
Is having a company reach out to you to do a box art. That's like always that's like a milestone, right? And so I was like, no one's asking me to do a box art, so I'll just do my own fucking box art. Um, so, but I kind of had an agreement with myself without saying it out loud. Was that okay? If I'm gonna do my own box art, then it needs to be as good of a paint job as I can manage, so that it kind of stacks up with other box arts from other companies.
So how long did the first? Well, okay, before how long did the first one take you? How many of them did you have to paint to get to that box art? Like, did you just work one until you got it there, or did you like have several at different stages?
Just one, but I did lose all the footage of painting the face, so I had to paint it twice. So I had one full model and then one full head done. That the time leading up to that model being painted was insane, because it was Thanksgiving, and it was also we were gonna go on vacation for a week before Thanksgiving, and so I needed to finish like 3 videos to account for the vacation and Thanksgiving and something else. I can't remember what. And I also needed to paint that full model and make whatever 60 videos, which is not as crazy as it sounds, because a lot of them are like 4 minutes long, in like, I don't know, in like a 4-week span or something like that. And so I was like painting like 16 hours a day just to get it done, because there was no time. But yeah, somehow I finished it. I lost part of my sanity, but I'm happy with how it looks. So I guess that's a success story.
How's the reception been to the, like, it seems like the model is always sold out, which is exciting, and congratulations on that. And like to the point where like I don't think Creature Caster can keep up with the amount of demand, which is like, and I think the only real sad part about that is like the scalability of making a resin model, while, you know, better than some things, is also, you know, like they really can only do so many things. They have only so many pressure pots and things like that to make sure that every cast comes out great. But like you have to give it up to them for like, I've never got something from Creature Caster where I was like, this was the Friday model, you know, like everything is like pretty amazing, and I appreciate that you went with that. I mean, so who's the other companies that you've been talking to, or is that something you'd rather not talk about?
Oh no, I can talk about it. I think for a lot of things, I'm pretty much an open book, because basically my policy is that if the only reason why I'm better than somebody else is because I just know a few secrets, then I'm not actually.
Sure.
So a company actually reached out to me while I was streaming on YouTube. I've streamed maybe like 4 or 5 times, kind of just intermittently.
Yeah.
They're called Level 52 Studios, and it's this company that does statues predominantly, so much larger things. And they're getting into miniatures, and so they've hired a few sculptors from P3 and from Creature Caster. And they've made a few of their own models, and because they come from a different world, statues, they have a lot of different ideas of what quality is in terms of packaging and also the finished product. And they also have met a much higher demand for their stuff because like they've done licenses for like Borderlands and like really large IPs.
Oh,
And
wow.
so it's a different world. They have a different angle, And so it might be an interesting way to kind of innovate the expectations that people who buy boutique miniatures have in packaging and also in quality and things like that. So I'm excited to see what they can do. They're just finishing casting one of the Duchesses, and I have them sculpting a model that I'm not going to sell, that I'm just using for a video.
Oh,
So
cool.
we'll see like how good the sculptors are, how good the cast is, and then
It's
we'll
gonna
go
be
from
John,
there.
isn't it? The model that you're doing for your video. It's just gonna be John.
Just yes, just like with like a grape leaf over his like his genitalia. It's like,
Just
pink.
reaching out,
Yeah.
spark.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He's touching God's finger. Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
Uh, unfortunately, it's not that. It's a model. It's a concept from a video game. But yeah, we'll see how they do, and then I'll go from there. But I love Creature Caster, and so any way that they want to work with me in the future, I'm all ears. So like things like they talked about. I actually don't know what I can say, but they have different ideas for how I can work with them, and I'm excited for all of them.
That's really exciting. I mean, because right now, Creature Caster is going through a kind of a whole new change, and I got to talk to him a couple weeks ago, and like, I kind of called him out on a couple things because like I want to see some like they have all the like the sexy lady thing going on all day long, which is cool. Like I like big demon tits. I think if you're painting miniatures, you will go through a phase where like if they're big and they're demons, I'm gonna paint them tits. And but like I'm like, where are all the like like the angelic men, like there's something here, like because it's like the male characters are either like horribly deformed or they're giant demons, which like is not fun. And it's like, and I see your sculpts, I see your quality of concept art. Some of their concept art is amazing. Like the 20 minutes that they showed me that I couldn't show everybody else, I was like, holy shit, like these guys are fucking awesome. Like, please make this now. And I'm just like, but you guys like have to break out of this, like, scantily clad women thing without, bringing something, because I think that was one of the things with like Monument Hobbies is nobody wants to buy Monument Hobbies paints when they feel obligated to look at all like the demons, like all your scale sculptors, the terrain guys, if they're not into it, like they're not going to go to the Creature Caster page, so it's like,
okay,
like it seems like even though like that's what they're based off of as creatures, like they have so much more things they can do.
yeah. I mean, there's an interesting argument to be made about wanting to serve more of a general audience versus wanting to hone in on a specific person. Like as it goes for like YouTube, people say that if you have a more general audience, you'll get more views. But if your audience is more honed and specific, maybe you'll get less views. But that small audience will then buy your product or become patrons and things like that. So
Right.
maybe their focus is on just men in the ranges of 30 to 60 who like big demon titties. Like maybe that, yeah, and they buy like 80 models a year. Like who knows? No, I don't know.
Dude, that like I asked them and they sell 1,000 models a month. And that is insane. Can you imagine the amount of resin and silicone that they have to go through that? Like that is incredible.
That is incredible. That is a lot of minis to move. Holy cow.
Right, and they aren't small. Like even their small ones are big. It's pretty amazing. And like so I'm thrilled to see, even though like the Monument Creature Caster split is weird and puts a little bit of like I've had multiple people, because I've talked to Jason Craze as well, and the people are like, what's going on with Monument? I was like I think everybody's growing up and they get to have a nice new version of themselves and they get to kind of recreate themselves at this moment. And I think that this is going to be great for Monument. Like they get to go to the friendly local game stores, which is already starting to happen, and Creature Caster gets to reinvent themselves right now as well. They have opened up to the creature creator community and have been way more open and transparent there. Like I'm like super excited for the miniature hobby right now, and especially since we're all stuck at home, it seems like that is where like the fun stuff is going to be. Like painting an army is cool and all, but like when are you going to play with it? Like who knows when COVID's going to disappear? So like give me a big crazy model to paint. Give me something that like catches my imagination.
Yeah, Creature Caster is a wonderfully innovative company in the miniature space. In a space where we have huge, large companies that uh, aren't really kind of changing up the way that they interact with their larger community and content creators online. So they're like way ahead of the game in terms of like sponsored content and working with creators and things like that. I know whenever a company reaches out to me and I have to explain the idea of sponsored content on YouTube, it's like always so laborious. But with them, they're already there, like they understand it. So yeah, they're
Yeah.
great.
So I know we're getting right to the end of our time here. I did want to have one other thing that I wanted to, kind of talk about. Like, so one of my earliest things, and you, when you were doing Twitch early on, you did a 24-hour stream of which like I hopped on a couple times just because it's like, oh my God, he's actually still going. And like further and further through the night, you like your sanity kept on dwindling. And there was this moment, it was like 6 a.m. and somebody was like donating $20 to get you to do something, like just like, because like there's that like weird like Twitch, if somebody gives you money, they kind of like want you to dance like a fucking monkey on stage. And you were just like, seriously, dude, thank you for donating to the charity, but I am not doing that. And he like just kept on like harassing you. And like I was like a little turned off by Twitch from that, because it just seemed so antagonistic instead of like a supportive thing that I was kind of hoping to see there. And I stopped paying attention to Twitch not long after that. Like it just was not something that was even on my radar until earlier this year, when I had an absurd amount of time. And I know that you have touched on doing live streams on YouTube, which always seems to not work as well as you would like it to. It's like Uncle Adam seems to be the only person who manages to do it at a time that everybody comes. It's because it's part of his schedule. It's part of his routine. Mm-hmm. Do you think that there is ever a part where a Twitch community for you will make sense again? Because now I've started, meeting the amount of miniature painters right now that are out there doing it, like James Waffle, sitting down and watching him oil paint up some crazy, historical model at super fast. My brain is just like, what is happening here? You get to meet the Mike Disneys of the world. You get to meet, Zambies and Eeny Meenies. And, like this was one of the things that I was talking with John about. I was like, why the fuck would you do YouTube? Like when you could rule Twitch? and it's a weird way to look at it, but like the community there is hungry and they are watching things like 24/7, and it's a worldwide community now. And it just seems really interesting that like there is so much hobby time involved in a YouTube video. Like you could be doing that and tapping into a whole nother audience again.
Yeah, that's a great question. What the few times I've done a live stream, I've got between 500 and 1,000 viewers, and so it was successful, and I was pretty amped about that.
Oh, that's crazy. That's good. It's actually very good. Yeah, for a hobby.
Yeah, for on YouTube specifically, because that's where the subscribers were. But there is a really strong argument to be made about streaming on Twitch, just because you're separating revenue streams and not all your eggs are in one basket.
Right.
Also, I mean, I love Twitch. I watch Twitch streams all the time. Like while I'm painting, I will often watch a Dota stream. I like Dota, the pro circuit and stuff like that. So I'll watch games from there. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Twitch. So I don't really know where I'm going to end up, but I do want to figure out a time of the week that I can live stream and just paint and have fun. I'm not going to do any of that fucking donate money and you do dumb shit. I hate that about live streams. I don't get it. But I am excited to do it because the times I've done it, it's been a lot of fun. People were having a lot of fun and asking great questions, and I was really enjoying it. So yeah, there's a future in live streaming for sure. I just got to figure out some technical details. I don't have a lot of space, and so I can't have like a separate streaming desk. I got to kind of figure out how to retrofit my videography desk for streaming without too much hassle. But yeah, definitely. Don't know if it's gonna be Twitch or YouTube, but I'm definitely excited about that.
does YouTube have a nice monetization schedule for like the live stuff? Like I never understand what any of that is like, because it doesn't seem like ads play during live streams. So it seems like it's almost like wasted time there, where like at least on Twitch, like within 2 minutes you would be affiliate, and within 10 minutes you would be partner. I mean, because like I think that there's going to be a real battleground happening when Twitch decides to tell Adam from Tabletop Minions that he can't do live streams on YouTube anymore. It all has to be there, because like once you are partner, once you're affiliate, Twitch owns your live streams. Like they can kick you off. I don't know if they would do anything litigious, because it's not that much money put into it, but if you signed an actual deal with them, I think they probably would. So
yeah, I'm not sure. I at one point I was an affiliate, and then that ended with Twitch. Do you know if Uncle Adam is he a partner of Twitch?
I don't think he's been on there long enough, but it's gonna happen. Like he is pulling 250 on Twitch like all the time, and that's for like hobby stuff. Like if you're seeing
awesome.
people float around like 30-40 people all the time on Twitch, that's a pretty busy hobby place. It's not YouTube numbers, but those people are like extremely invested of what's happening there. They're throwing money around. Like I was on Mocha Minis today just to see how her dragon was coming along, and like this dude like threw like 5 or 6 gifted subs, and like it's stuff like I don't give money to people. Like, I'm not that charitable. I don't have that much extra money. Like it's going to plastic here, and that's something that like there's this like joy in the community there that's so infectious though. And like because YouTube feels like there's a barrier between that, Twitch feels so much more immediate. Like it seems like it would be an interesting place for you to come back to, because I think the community is itching for more Scott the Miniature Maniac face to face time, because we love your videos, but like us regular folk who aren't in the Discord and who aren't behind all these other walls, we don't get to see those things that you're working on. All we do is check in once a week with you.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point. I didn't think of it that way. I think it'd make a lot of sense to stream on both YouTube and Twitch and see what works. Try a week on one platform and a week on another one, and it's not just a numbers thing either, right? Like YouTube's always going to do better because that's where my subs are.
Of course.
But yeah, I think Twitch is a cool community, and maybe it isn't as viable to be a Twitch streamer for a living as it is to be a YouTuber at this present time. But I mean, that doesn't mean that it isn't possible. Like someone just needs to have a cool, maybe fresh take on being a live streamer as a miniature painter, and then the whole game gets revolutionized. So yeah, it's definitely possible. But yeah, I mean, you got me kind of amped to try some Twitch streaming now, so I'll look into it.
I would like to see more of you. I would like to see. Yeah, I mean, I just think that like being part of this community, and like this might sound like a total dickhead statement, but like it seems like you're a YouTuber first, and then you're a miniature painter. Where like I think we're all here for the miniature painting, and and are here for you, and the YouTube thing is just like our like consuming device, and so it's like it feels like there's a distance there, which I mean, like it's fine. Like personally, like especially like I don't know what it's like having, what are you, like 160,000 subs or 200, something like that. It's big. Last time I looked,
215.
215. Yeah, I was like, that's a lot of people to have poking you all the time, because like if even 1% of them is kind of like me, that is more than I would want to deal with. So.
Yeah, it's not really, that's not a part of the job that I dread, or that I don't mind talking to people or talking with people. So yeah, I basically, I say this to say that like you shouldn't feel bad for like prodding and poking people to be on this show, because it's a cool show, and I'm glad that it exists, and the conversations you have with other people are probably really edifying for other people to hear and listen to. So there's value in asking and poking and prodding. So definitely keep doing it.
I think it's been really fun, and it's been really cool to get to know the people that like, yeah, either inspired me, taught me these things. And that's something that, Scott, that thank you so much for those things that you did, whether or not it was intentional setting it off, from the start. Like, you gave me tools that made me like my first models I painted were Kingdom Death. Like, I started in the deep end because you made it seem easy. You're just like, just do it. Like, stop worrying about it. Just do it. You're gonna not like your first couple. Just have fun with it. It's gonna be fine. And thank you for that. Thank you for the laughs and the podcast. I love Trapped Under Plastic. I think that's my only complaint is like half the time the news is a little late, but you do what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. If we did a show more frequently, like once a week, then that would improve for sure.
But there is something endearing about that when like early on there was a couple things where you're just like, yeah, no, that was all last week. We're on a total different thing this week. Well, Scott, I'll let you get back to the rest of your night. I really appreciate you sitting down with me in the murder basement. Is there anything you wanted to say before we end up here, or you good, man?
The summary that I think I had where it's just like, the value of this show, it can't be measured in things like views and likes and stuff like that. That no matter the impressions this episode or other episodes you've gotten gets, there is value in doing this. So just keep doing it, because even if 10 people out there are finding value in it, or if it's 100 or if it's 1,000, it's still a great thing to be doing for the community.
Yeah, well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And so far, like, I haven't gotten the hate that I was expecting. I figured like YouTube, I'm gonna get the hate. It's been really supportive, and I've got people like from the UK that are like 70 watching the YouTube things because they're like, they love the miniature painters, but they don't know how to get to know them. And so like we've had some really cool interactions that way. People who are finding streamers that been like, I was looking for someone like this, and now here they are, and I didn't even know that they existed. It's been really cool. And like I'm talking with like Chris Surrey earlier this week, and like I'm so stoked to show people Chris Surrey's artwork, because I don't think a lot of people know who he is, and like his compositions are crazy. They're crazy. Yeah. They're amazing.
He's definitely an American painter that flies under the radar a lot. Mostly because he's just such a humble guy. Like he doesn't post a whole lot. He doesn't have like a whole like Chris Surrey miniature art Facebook page, or if he does, I don't know about it because he never talks about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, he definitely comes off as he just does it for the love, and it's apparent in like how he paints and stuff like that. So he's great.
Yeah, I'll send you the link to that when that comes out, because I think that'll be one that just hearing him talk about how he does things, he's so stinking humble. I think you'll love it.
Awesome.
All right, man. Well, I'll let you get on with the rest of your night. I really appreciate you sitting down with me. Thank you so much, man.
Yep, my pleasure.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Hobby Time in the Murder Basement. I so appreciate your support. If you want to see more hobby content, hop on over to twitch.tv/Heath Aldrich to see all of your fun hobby content streaming whenever I get a free chance. If you like listening to these episodes in more of a podcast form, I should be on all of your favorite podcasting apps. Make sure that you like and subscribe to me there. If you can, leave me a 5-star review. I'd really appreciate it. Have a nice rest of your day, and we'll be talking to you soon.